News, I'm Kevin Hogan. Here are today's top stories. New staff are deployed to take care of migrants in border processing centers. It will free up some Border Patrol agents so they can get back to border security. Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp labels Major League Baseball's actions as cancel culture. This is after the league's decision to move major events out of the state. A pond of contaminated water is leaking into Florida waterways. The situation escalated over the weekend. Authorities declared an emergency and evacuated residents. They say the 800 million gallon pond could collapse at any time. A rally for Asian Americans in Michigan. Residents are taking a stand against the surge of violent crimes facing the group in recent months. What do state senators have to say about the challenges the minority group is facing? And the private information of more than 500 million Facebook users is discovered for sale on a hacker website. An expert says to watch out for attacks related to the data. Border Patrol agents are getting some help. A new group of people trained to work in processing facilities just graduated. That means Border Patrol agents can get back out on the line.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
A group of newly trained staff is being deployed to border processing facilities in Texas. 39 Border Patrol processing coordinators spent 8 weeks training for the new role. The role was developed under the Trump administration to help put Border Patrol agents back on border security, instead of having them deal with humanitarian issues. The coordinators won't be armed or have arrest authority since it's not a law enforcement position. The chief Border Patrol agent at the training academy says they plan to train 5 more groups this year. And a Republican senator says he was told to delete photos he took of migrant facilities during a recent visit to the U.S.-Mexico border.
Well, we were told to delete the pictures. No one did. You've seen the video coming out of all of these kids crammed together under the foil blankets, huddling together.
Senator John Barrasso is also a medical doctor. He told Fox News that Customs and Border Protection isn't testing children for the virus when they arrive, only when they leave.
They've all been exposed, and then they're sent all across the country. You know, that is the real tragedy of this.
We reached out to the White House for comment, but haven't heard back yet. And a bipartisan group of lawmakers says fixing the immigration crisis is President Biden's responsibility. Senator John Tester said he's not sure what Congress can do in the immediate future. He told The Hill, "I don't know you need legislation. I think what we need is to make sure we get the people and the technology down there to stop it." Senator Sheldon Whitehouse told The Hill it's the executive branch's responsibility, saying, "If they feel they need additional resources, obviously we're here to help." And Republican Senator Lindsey Graham told The Hill they need to go back to the policies that were working. Biden put Vice President Kamala Harris in charge of dealing with the border crisis in March. Although she's answered questions from the media, she hasn't held a news conference about it yet.
Pushing the new infrastructure package through Congress is expected to be an uphill battle for the Biden administration. But Senate Leader Chuck Schumer is trying to pave a way for the controversial package, even without any Republican support. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the story.
The $2 trillion infrastructure plan is facing pushback on many fronts. Republican leaders say it funds projects it shouldn't, costs too much, and that they disagree with tax hikes. Some moderate Democrats also disagree with tax hikes. Then there's progressive Democrats who say the plan is admirable but won't hit the mark.
It's just not enough.
Despite the voices of dissent and the expected rocky path ahead through Congress, Democratic leaders are pushing hard to get the bill passed fast.
The hope that we have for bipartisanship to get the job done as soon as possible.
And Senate Majority Leader Schumer is trying to pass the bill even without bipartisan support. He's asked the Senate advisor whether a second budget reconciliation could be used this year to get it done. Some say this could set a dangerous precedent.
My biggest concern is that we're going to end up having government by reconciliation. And basically, you're going to have the president using the reconciliation measures to pass all of his big bills. And if you get 2 reconciliation measures every year, you're going to see two giant spending bills, and we're never going to get the debt under control.
Darling tells NTD if allowed, it could lead to a Congress that passes giant, multi-issue bills instead of smaller ones that deal with individual issues. Schumer's approach would avoid the need for Senate Republican support to pass the bill, just like how the American Rescue Plan was passed with no Republican support.
And you get around the the fact that you need 60 votes in the Senate, you only need a simple majority if you use reconciliation. This is not something that has ever been done, and it would actually allow Democrats to do 3 reconciliation measures this year.
Traditionally, budget reconciliation is used to look at taxes and the debt limit and make sure that the overall budget is in line with what was passed earlier in the year. But over the years, both parties have abused its traditional use. Darling says it's unlikely that the Senate advisor will approve this move, but we'll find out in the coming days whether she advises for or against a second budget reconciliation. Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
And Biden is prepared to join Schumer on this effort. That's according to comments from his energy secretary, who said on Sunday that Biden prefers to work with Republicans, but is prepared to take another route if needed. Major League Baseball expanded a deal it had with China one day before boycotting Georgia. Georgia's governor is accusing the league of boosting cancel culture after it said it would shift its All-Star game to New York instead of holding it in Atlanta. Here's details from Atlanta.
Georgia's governor is pushing back against Major League Baseball's latest move.
Yesterday, Major League Baseball caved to fear and lies from liberal activists.
On April 2nd, the organization revealed it would move its All-Star game from Atlanta to New York. The decision was made in protest of the election reform package passed by the state.
They ignored the facts of our new election integrity law, and they ignored the consequences of their decision on our local community. In the middle of a pandemic, Major League Baseball put the wishes of Stacey Abrams and Joe Biden ahead of the economic well-being of hard-working Georgians who are counting on the All-Star game for a paycheck.
Governor Kemp says this is part of cancel culture and partisan activity.
It means cancel culture and partisan activists are coming for your business. They're coming for your game or event in your hometown. And they're coming to cancel everything from sports to how you make a living.
He noted that free, fair, and accessible elections are the foundation of the country.
I will not be backing down from this fight, and neither are the people who are here with me today. We will.
Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr voiced support for the state's recent election reform measure.
Anybody who actually reads this bill quickly sees that it strengthens security, expands access, and improves transparency in Georgia's elections.
Other officials also echoed the message.
I fully support the legislation that the governor signed and the position that he's taken. We want to make it easy to vote in Georgia and hard to cheat.
So I think this has been a great legislation. And it's shocking that Major League Baseball, which has exhibition games in Cuba, a country that is under communist dictatorship, where there is no free right to vote. Major League Baseball has no problem going down there and having games.
The league's move came amid pressure from baseball executives and players. It was the first big action taken by a major group since the state's election reform was passed. Statements from Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines followed closely behind.
Former President Donald Trump is calling on Republicans and conservatives to stand against companies that are against Georgia's new election laws. He tells his supporters they should never submit. Trump said that radical left Democrats have used boycotts to fight companies that offend them, and that now Republicans and conservatives should do the same against the companies taking sides in the election debate. A pond filled with toxic water is discharging into Florida's waterways. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declared an emergency, and officials are scrambling to prevent an uncontrolled collapse of the pond's levee. A pond of contaminated water is leaking into Florida waterways. The situation escalated over the weekend. Authorities declared an emergency and evacuated residents. They say the 800 million gallon pond could collapse at any time. Manatee County Director of Public Safety Jake Sauer told WSTP that a containment wall shifted at Piney Point Containment Pond. He says the structure of the pond could collapse at any time. Authorities evacuated more than 300 homes and a jail. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declared an emergency.
I issued an executive order declaring a state of emergency in Manatee as well as in Hillsborough and Pinellas counties.
The area is south of Tampa Bay. Officials say they are draining the pond so it doesn't collapse. They say the water is running into an aquatic preserve near Tampa Bay via local creeks. The Center for Biological Diversity released a statement about the incident. They say Piney Point is the site of something called a phosphogypsum stack. It's a waste byproduct of manufacturing fertilizer. They say the stack contains radioactive materials and toxic heavy metals. The statement says the stacks are very dangerous, and the release is a preventable catastrophe. DeSantis denies the released water is radioactive.
To be clear, the water being discharged to Port Manatee is not radioactive. It is primarily salt water from the Port Manatee Dredge Project mixed with legacy process water and stormwater runoff.
He says water in the area is being tested to ensure the safety of residents. Manatee County officials say there is no threat to wells or drinking water. DeSantis says the owner of the facility is accountable for any damages. Michiganders are speaking out against the surge in violence against Asian Americans across the country. Organizers held a rally in front of the state's capital to fight against discrimination towards the group. Michigan state senators tell NTD about their concerns over what Asian Americans are facing.
State senators, Asian Americans, and other community members gathered in Lansing, Michigan on Saturday. The group Michigan Conservative Chinese Americans organized the protest against bigotry and discrimination against Asian Americans. They say Asian Americans are treated unfairly in areas like higher education under the guise of equality.
And the Asian community is just the most recent, far-reaching victim of this, telling them that they can't get a college that they have qualified for, that the best person who's worked so hard, people that come from desperate poverty, work to get there and say, no, because of the color of your skin, your ethnicity, you can't get in that position. We're going to give it to somebody else.
The rally comes after affirmative action opponents asked the Supreme Court to take up the case against Harvard's admission policies to increase the number of Black and Hispanic students. One of the lawsuit's backers said the school is discriminating against Asian Americans. The rally declared that the fight against Asian discrimination is a bipartisan battle, an American battle. A Michigan senator explains why he came out to support the rally.
Well, I'm a big supporter of the Asian American community, primarily because my district is very diverse. So I represent them. They asked me to come out here, and I wanted to talk about, if you've ever met anyone from the Asian American community, they're some of the most hardworking, talented, intelligent people. And, they want to, everyone to know that we support them.
The rally comes just over a week after a man attacked an elderly Asian American woman in New York City. A study by Cal State shows violence against Asian Americans jumped 145% in 2020. An Indian immigrant shares her perspective on the violence and the way some media portray it.
But most Chinese Asian people don't even talk about it because language is a big barrier for them. So they just don't talk about it. They suck it up. And then somehow the thing that the media is trying to do right now is to give it a political spin. Like, because President Trump called it China virus, people are attacking Chinese as though, attacking Asian Americans was a new thing. No, this has been going on for 3-4 decades, that this has always been an issue.
The group maintains that hate towards any group from anyone has no place in America.
22 state attorneys general join a lawsuit against a California gun control law. The controversial law bans high-capacity magazines. It defines high capacity as holding more than 10 rounds.
The attorneys general of Arizona and Louisiana sent an amicus brief in a controversial gun control case. 20 more Republican attorneys general support the brief. California banned magazines that hold more than 10 rounds in 2000, but a 3-judge panel declared the law unconstitutional last year. They say it violates the Second Amendment. Now an appeals court says it will rehear the case. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich released a statement about the case. He says attempts to undermine the Second Amendment or any of our civil rights and liberties should be met with deep skepticism and vigorous opposition. Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry also released a statement. He says radical leftists are trying to remove Americans' unconstitutional rights. Javier Becerra was the Attorney General of California before joining the Biden administration. He says large-capacity magazines have been used in many horrific mass shootings around the country, including right here in California. He says the magazines cause higher death tolls in shootings. Jonathan Lowry is chief counsel for the Brady Gun Control Group. He says he's hopeful the appeals court will overturn the panel. If the case gets overturned, it could head to the Supreme Court, where conservatives hold a 6-3 majority.
Getting a handgun in Iowa may have just gotten easier. Their governor passed a bill backed by the NRA, which means you no longer need a permit to get guns like revolvers.
Iowans can now carry their handguns in the open and buy them without a permit from non-licensed sellers. These are sellers who aren't licensed by the federal government, but the law doesn't remove every check. Sellers will be slapped with a felony charge if they sell, rent, or loan a firearm to someone who they know or reasonably should know is intoxicated or shouldn't legally have one. Republican Governor Kim Reynolds said on Friday, "Today I signed legislation that protects the Second Amendment rights of Iowa's law-abiding citizens while still preventing the sale of firearms to criminals and other dangerous individuals. This makes Iowa one of 19 states that no longer require citizens to get a permit before carrying a gun. The National Rifle Association supports the new law. Democrats don't." In a statement to ABC 9, Iowa's Democratic Party Chair Representative Ross Wilburn said, "The governor's reckless disregard for the safety and well-being of Iowans is limitless. Our communities aren't safer when criminals can legally purchase a handgun without a background check. The new law doesn't ban background checks, but people can buy guns from sellers who don't require them."
Details from more than 500 million Facebook users have been found available on a website for hackers. While the information appears to be several years old, it's another example of the vast amount of information collected by Facebook and other social media sites and the limits to how secure that information is.
The private information of more than 500 million Facebook users may have been compromised, and an unidentified leaker says they are offering the data for sale for virtually nothing. Alon Gal, the co-founder of an Israeli cybersecurity firm called Hudson Rock, says that the information appears to be the same set of Facebook-linked telephone numbers that's been circulating in hacker circles since January. It's being sold for a few dollars worth of digital credits on a well-known site for low-level hackers. Reuters hasn't been able to verify the information, but Gal and some journalists who have seen the data dump say they've been able to match phone numbers of people they know. He warns that Facebook users should be on the lookout for possible social engineering attacks in the coming months. In a statement, Facebook said the data was very old and related to an issue it had fixed in August 2019. An attempt by Reuters to reach the leaker over the messaging service Telegram was not immediately successful.
The Texas Supreme Court is directing courts in the state to stop honoring the federal moratorium on evictions. This means new and paused eviction cases in Texas can now move forward. Some fear tenants all across Texas are now under threat of massive eviction. But a district judge who ruled against the moratorium in February says the CDC used the pandemic as an excuse to grab power. The CDC argued that the eviction ban was needed to curb the spread of the CCP virus. But tenants could invoke the ban whether they suffered from virus-related hardships or not. The Biden administration supports the eviction ban, which is set to expire on June 30th. Yet again, a Rikers Island inmate has been mistakenly released in New York City. But the Department of Corrections is not calling it an accident. NTD's Miguel Moreno has that story.
It's not every day you hear about a prison inmate being released by mistake, but New York City appears to have a problem. For the third time in less than a month, an inmate has been mistakenly released. The lawyer of James Reno told New York Daily News he was supposed to still be under police custody, but the Department of Corrections let him out early. In a statement, they told us they followed their policy. There was no accidental release. Based on the documentation provided by the courts, the release from custody was in accordance with our policy. Plus, they said they didn't have a copy of the civil warrant, which would have instructed officers to hold onto him. A local newspaper says Reno was in jail for failing to pay $85,000 in child support plus other violations. Then there's Nakeem Meekins. On March 15th, Meekins, accused of attempted murder, was mistakenly released due to a clerical error. And on March 8th, Christopher Buggs, a murder suspect, was also released by mistake. Buggs is still at large. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
A once-secret unit within the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center has been closed. The prisoners from Camp 7 moved to another facility in the American base in Cuba. Camp 7 was run by the military under an agreement with the CIA, Intelligence agencies are said to have been involved with the transfer. The military long refused to even acknowledge the location called Camp 7 and never allowed journalists to see the inside of the facility. Officials said it had structural issues and needed to be replaced, but the Pentagon dropped plans to seek money for the construction. Those held at Camp 7 include 5 prisoners charged with war crimes for planning and providing logistical support for the September 11th terrorist attacks. President Biden said he intends to close Guantanamo, but that would require approval from Congress to move some prisoners to the United States for trial or imprisonment. A Navy ship from World War II has been found in the world's deepest shipwreck dive off the coast of the Philippines. The USS Johnston was found in the water 62% deeper than the Titanic. It lies more than 21,000 feet under the water. A crewed submersible explored and photographed the Fletcher-class destroyer. The USS Johnston sunk on October 25, 1944, during a battle with Japanese forces. And Wakayama Castle's renowned cherry trees are blooming. Visitors are surprised by their beauty. Coming up on NTD News. The calming sight of hundreds of cherry trees in bloom is drawing visitors to Wakayama Castle's renowned blossoms.
Cherry blossoms, or sakura, have long been a part of traditional Japanese culture. For some, viewing them and welcoming spring is a yearly tradition.
I view cherry blossoms at least once a year. Before, there were always food booths here, and it was very lively. The booths are not set up this year. Though it's a little quiet, the cherry blossoms are very beautiful. It's a worthwhile trip.
She has chosen to come here to see Wakayama Castle's renowned cherry blossoms. These trees are some of the first to bloom in the region. More than 600 trees stand around the highest tower of the castle, known as a tenshikaku. Visitors bring waterproof mats and snacks. They sit under the shady trees, enjoying quality time with friends and family.
I came to view the cherry blossoms with my family. I'm very happy.
The koi swimming freely, birds tasting the flowers' fresh nectar. The 400 lanterns are strung to complement the pink and white flowers. Even if you've seen them before, you can be caught off guard by the loveliness of the scene.
I'm surprised that the blooming cherry blossoms are so pretty. It's really wonderful.
The flowers will only bloom for 2 weeks. Some people take pictures to try to preserve their beauty, but the picture cannot do justice to the blossom's sweet smell, the wind on your face, or the moments shared with loved ones.
A baby capybara has found a new family at the Cali Zoo in Colombia. The 3-month-old was abandoned by her mother last December. So now zoo staff have taken on the role of her mother. She's under the care of a surrogate mother who provides her with the skills she needs for optimal development. Her surrogate mom feeds her, cares for her, and makes sure she gets plenty of time in the water. The Cali Zoo communications manager says the baby capybara was rejected shortly after birth by her first-time parents. But the zoo hopes that in a couple of months, she'll be able to unite with another female of the same species. Let's turn our attention to health now by looking at 7 healthy beans, grains, and legumes. Here's our health reporter, Gina, with more.
Welcome to Strong Mind and Body. I'm Gina Marie. Stocking up your pantry with healthy staples is always a good idea. The more healthy food options we have on hand, the less likely we are to binge on Pringles or Doritos, right? Fortunately, there are plenty of healthy and tasty options in the dry goods category to include in your diet to complement all those healthy fruits and vegetables you're already eating. Check out our favorites. Number 1, quinoa. Now, if you are a vegan or vegetarian, quinoa is a must. And it's a good idea for meat eaters too, because quinoa is a fantastic plant protein, more than any other grain, although actually quinoa is technically a seed. It's a great source of B vitamins, all 9 essential amino acids, and provides an excellent boost of fiber, iron, and calcium. Cook it like you would rice and serve it much the same way. Try it in the morning in place of oats. Number 2, millet. A lesser known grain here in the US is millet. Millet is consumed in quantity throughout Asia and Africa. It is gluten-free and has an alkalizing effect on the body as well. While less protein-rich than quinoa, it's still an excellent source, about 15% protein per serving. It's also a good food for remineralizing, as it contains high levels of iron, magnesium, and potassium. Number 3, lentils. You can't go wrong with the lentil. It's quick to cook and provides fast and plentiful protein, a healthy dose of soluble fiber, and micronutrients including folate, vitamin B6, and magnesium. Because they cook so quickly and don't require soaking, it's a good staple to always have on hand for a fast and healthy meal. Try them in soups, stews, and with grains such as quinoa or over pasta. Number 4, black beans. They're a favorite in Cuban and Mexican dishes and a good choice to add to any meal. Black beans are a great protein source at about 8 grams per half cup serving, with nearly as much fiber. This low-calorie, versatile bean is also an excellent brain food. Black beans have been shown to boost brain power. Think about that over your next black bean burrito. Number 5, oats. Eat that bowlful every morning and you are getting a fiber-rich start to your day, which can keep you feeling full and satisfied until lunch and less likely to reach for that mid-morning donut. Oats contain a strong fiber called beta-glucan. They can help to reduce cholesterol levels. You're also getting minerals such as magnesium and selenium, as well as B vitamins in every serving. Number 6, pinto beans. Fiber and protein-rich pinto beans are loaded with minerals including phosphorus, iron, and potassium. They're also a great source for B vitamins. The mighty pinto may also help your immune system fight off colds and the flu. Number 7, brown rice. Simply by leaving the bran on the rice, which is the nutrient-rich outer layer, we have ourselves one healthy food. Brown rice is an excellent source of dietary fiber, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. 1 cup of rice provides you with nearly all the recommended daily intake of manganese, which help protect our bodies from free radical damage. Thanks for watching.
And that's all for now. Catch us again tonight at 6:30 Eastern. I'm Kevin Hogan.
Don't miss out on important news. Our videos are being deleted. So if you don't want to be cut off from honest news, take a moment to sign up for our newsletter at newsletter.ntd.com so you don't lose access to NTD. Go to newsletter.ntd.com to sign up for our evening newsletter.